This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at something a little bit different and a little bit the same at the same time. This is the Toshiba Portege R30. Obviously, it's a laptop. This is a 13.3-inch laptop, but it's not quite an Ultrabook in the traditional sense. All the 13.3 inches machines we look at lately, well, they're Ultrabooks. The battery is sealed inside. You can't add more RAM. The battery doesn't come out, all that stuff. This one's different. This one's a little bit thicker, but it has a door on the bottom. You can actually upgrade the internals on this. The battery pops out. It has a DVD drive. Oh my God, how refreshing, right? We're going to look at it now. So this is the Toshiba Portege R30. Again, it is available now, runs on Intel 4th generation Haswell CPUs. But here's the thing that's different about this. Well, for something as small a chassis as this, it runs on full mobile CPUs. It ends with an M, the model number on the CPU, not the U for Ultrabook. That means more voltage to the CPU, more powerful, better for more demanding computing situations. Say you're a coder and you're compiling complex applications that have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. You're doing some full HD video editing, that kind of stuff. And for those of you who have tried Ultrabooks and have found them kind of lacking in the horsepower department because you have particularly high demands, this is the sort of machine you would probably want to look at if you want to keep things still ultra portable. Now, still integrated graphics, HD 4400 graphics in here, so you're not getting a dedicated GPU in this box for those of you who want to do 3D gaming, you get the idea there, or CAD work. So not that kind of machine, but it's geared more towards kind of business users, really. This is the Portege R line. Obviously, you don't have to be a business user to use this machine. You can just be anybody who says, I want a 13.3-inch machine that's not heavy, but I need more bells and whistles than the usual stripped-down Ultrabook. It's not all glory and roses, though. The display here, the good part is it's a matte display. There's no glare here. However, you can see how it fades in and out. It's a TN panel, and that means it has the typical limited viewing angles. In office lighting, looking straight on, it actually looks quite nice. But if you're using it in very bright environments or any place where you can't angle the display to look just right for you, it can be pretty darn disappointing. Also, it's 1366 by 768 resolution, which is not a bad resolution in terms of having icons and text be readable. This is at 100% scaling right here, and you don't need to scale any bigger to actually make things readable. But of course, things don't look really beautiful and sharp, and if you're watching full HD video, obviously it's going to have to be scaled down to this resolution unless you're watching on an external monitor. So that is not the high point of this model. We have stereo speakers with DTS audio. This may be a business machine, but it can rock some pretty good audio. And we're going to test out an Audible book. And a shout out to our sponsors for this video, Audible. By the way, go to audible.com/tech review. Be sure to use that URL, and you can get a free audiobook and a free 1-month trial. Now, since Audible is sponsoring this video, we're going to tell you a little bit about them. And no, do not go get a cup of coffee right now. Sit through this. We promised them that you would. So here we are on Audible's website right there. And you can see you can download a free audiobook of your choice right now. And if you want to get your free audiobook, you just click right here. By the way, Amazon owns Audible. In case you've been living under a tree somewhere in the wilds of, I don't know what, Tasmania, they do. So you're actually going to sign in with your Amazon account right there. It's pretty darn easy. And we're going to take a look for a book. So anyway, here are some bestsellers right here. We have Attachments, a novel that will probably scare the men in the audience. We have Capital in the 21st Century. That's good reading material before bed. No, seriously though, it's actually a very interesting book. But my tastes lean more towards the humorous, as you might imagine. So we're going to look for Lake Wobegon and see what we can find there. And there we have Lake Wobegon Days, which would be my top choice of entertaining myself when washing the car, when washing the dog. Not so much when washing the cat, because he is kind of like a wild yeti if you try to give him a bath, so you really can't listen to anything. So let's see what that looks like in the Audible player. And there's the Audible player. Very basic, looks like a music playing interface. And let's listen to the speakers. This is where we actually get to go back to listening to the Toshiba part of our review.
Me had come to the new world to gain honor.
Really very good speakers for a business laptop. So besides the fact that you might want to entertain yourself when you're on the airplane, if you're giving presentations, that sort of thing, obviously the speakers then come into play, not the headphones. And very good set of speakers on here. But once again, don't forget, if you are interested in the Audible offer, go to audible.com/tech review. You got to use that URL or they won't love us. It weighs 3.25 pounds, 3¼ pounds according to our scale, and we have one with an SSD drive inside. Toshiba says 3.3, so actually ours is weighing a little lighter. They're probably giving it with the HD inside weight there. There's something about the balance of this. It feels just wildly light. It's unusual. I would have guessed it was under 3 pounds, and usually I'm pretty good at guessing that. So it's about the same weight as other Ultrabooks. In terms of thickness, well, it is thicker, and we'll close this down. As you can see, it's 1 inch thick. Usually Ultrabooks are somewhere around 0.7 to 0.8 inches, so it is thicker, but that gets you all those little creature comforts of a full laptop, where normally these days you have to go to a bigger laptop. 2 USB 3.0 ports right here, one of them sleep and charge. VGA port, again, important to business users who have those legacy projector monitors. Obviously, it's cooling here. This is where our power adapter plugs in, and it's the usual compact mobile power adapter. Full-size HDMI, so you don't need any little adapters or anything like that to make use of that. And on this side, SD card slot, oh my god, an optical drive. This is a DVD multi-drive right here, so yes, for those of you who also need drive, this has one. It's about the only 13.3 inch these days you're going to find that still has one. Combo audio jack, headphone mic, another USB 3.0 port for 3 USB ports total. Ethernet built in, and there's your lock slot right there. On the bottom we have docking port here. Toshiba sells docking ports that you can use with this. So again, that caters to business users, but there's also home users. You take your laptop out on the go, and when you want to use it as a desktop sort of machine, you can use that docking connector. Other neat thing is the battery. Typical old style battery here. You slide these releases and this battery slides out. This is a 66 watt-hour battery, so that's a higher than usual capacity for a machine of this size, 5800 milliamp. And we've actually managed about 9 hours on a charge with moderate use and brightness set at 50%. And 50% brightness is pretty darn tolerable on this. So it also is pretty much a real road warrior in terms of battery life. And here we have a removable bottom panel, so you can upgrade the internals. And obviously cooling fan over here. Even putting this through some harder work, like some HD video, full HD video export on this, it never got overbearingly loud. So the cooling system is adequate. Given that it is thicker, there's more room to work with in this kind of machine, so cooling can be well optimized. So to take off this door, say you want to do some upgrades, repairs, whatever, there's just a couple of little Phillips head screws here, and I've left a couple of them unscrewed to speed this up. So you just unscrew these and this door pops right off. Rather convenient. It's not the kind of major surgery that you see on Ultrabooks where it's pretty challenging to get at things. And these are captive screws, so you don't have to worry about losing them. They stay in the plastic bottom lid. In other words, they don't go flying about and toss on the table. So here it is. We remove the door. We have 2 RAM slots there. Not just one, which would be pretty much a coup these days, but 2 RAM slots on this. And this is the 2.5 inch drive bay. And Toshiba has engineered an interesting little caddy here, because we have the mSATA SSD versions. Toshiba made mSATA 256 gig SSD rather. In our model, you can also get 128 gig SSD if you want. So it just sits in this little tool-free caddy. So you can just grab the piece of plastic right here and take that out. And again, that's for business and for military users who require easy and quick removal of sensitive data without having to use tools to get the hard drive out. The wireless card, not obviously accessible here. It has to be somewhere probably under this section here. You can remove everything if you want. There are more Phillips head screws if you want to remove the entire bottom plate, but typically people do not remove their Wi-Fi cards. Speaking of Wi-Fi, it is Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN and AC. This is the Intel 7260 AC dual band card. That's the best you can get right now, so good reliable wireless, and that integrates Bluetooth 4.0 as well. So let's take a look inside this unit. By the way, this is the full range of tilting back on this display. Given the limited viewing angles, it's good that it goes fairly far back. I'd like to see it go even further back. An interesting style element with this kind of hinge here. It might be business oriented, but well, they're trying to keep it a little bit interesting looking. Brushed top here, pretty much durable plastics. Inside they have a magnesium alloy roll cage with their honeycomb. That's Toshiba's saying kind of honeycomb waffle design on the interior, so that it's actually more rigid than you might think. If you touch it, it doesn't feel like necessarily the most sturdy thing, but supposedly it is. Now for the keyboard, there's nearly not much flex there at all. I'm pressing down pretty hard and it's not moving. You can see how the key height is. The key travel is actually not bad at all, and this is a backlit keyboard. You can see the backlights coming out now from underneath the keys. It will also illuminate the masking here. But the keys are just kind of squishy feeling. It's not my favorite keyboard. Also, it seems like they could somehow be larger. There is a lot of space between these keys. Maybe almost too much in terms of how much space they could have used up. Plus, they put the home, page up, page down, end keys over here, which takes away room from the keyboard design. I'm not a real fan of this because you tend to reach over to the far right side expecting, well, the normal keys over there, and accidentally you hit these. But that's what it is. Going with the ThinkPad Popular track point kind of design here, they do have an eraser stick pointer in case you're used to that and your company has said bye-bye Lenovo, hello Toshiba. Physical clicky buttons up here, not a buttonless trackpad. I know a lot of you prefer those over the buttonless design, particularly when using the eraser stick pointer up here. This is an Alps trackpad. It is not particularly large. I am not particularly in love with it either. And by the way, though we have the buttons up here, for this section, it is a buttonless design for these buttons down here, which is okay. It works fine. Anyway, multi-touch gestures. Well, this one shipped with Windows 7. You can get this with Windows 7 or Windows 8.1. It's up to you. So this one shipped as it would probably for businesses that are still on Windows 7. So the trackpad software support usually isn't as good under Windows 7 for gestures and things, but I find it just a little bit kind of cramped. And this right here, we have the fingerprint scanner embedded over here for security and our indicator lights. It's just weird because I'm used to the buttons being right close to the edge. You probably are too. So really they're up here. See what these little faint lines are? It's just enough to be kind of annoying. So like most laptops these days that are available direct from the manufacturer's website, as in this case Toshiba, this is available with your choice of a Core i3, Core i5, or Core i7 CPU. If you get the Core i5, it's actually the updated 4300U Core i5, and with the i7 it's the 4600U rather than the 4500U, slightly newer, 100 megahertz faster. So you can see we have 8 gigs of RAM in here, and as I showed you by taking off the bottom drawer, we have the 128 gig SSD in here. You can also get it with a 320 gig hard drive, a 500 gig hard drive. That's up to you how much money you want to spend and whether you need storage or speed and resistance to shock. In terms of synthetic benchmarks, on PC Mark 7 it scored 4607, which for a full mobile CPU that has considerably more processing power than the ULV Ultrabook U-Series CPUs, you might think, well, shouldn't it have a better number? That's because PC Mark kind of looks at everything. It looks like at the graphics processor, and particularly it looks at the storage subsystem, gives that a lot of weight. SSD drive just kind of throws you right up there. W prime for computing pi, now that's a more interesting look at actually just using the CPU, GPU kind of thing. 16.84 seconds to compute pi, and typically a Core i5 or i7 U-Series Ultrabook will take about 23 to 25 seconds, so you've gotten down to 16.84 there. Geekbench 3, which also looks more at the processor rather than the rest of the internals on the machine, scored a very healthy 3262 single core and multi-core 6210 in the 64-bit test. Obviously, because our machine shipped with Windows 7 64-bit, we're running these tests on under Windows 7. Doesn't usually make too much of a difference, though. And again, you get Windows 8.1 with this and downgrade rights to Windows 7, so you can get it either way. Up top, we have a 2-megapixel webcam. That's a higher resolution than we usually see on laptops. Why is that, or Ultrabooks particularly? Because this is a business-oriented machine where they figure you might actually be doing video conferencing. Also have the usual built-in microphones on here. Audio quality is pretty darn good for those as well. So there you have it. It ain't sexy. It feels really light, though. I mean, it's not a bad-looking machine, and it's not so terribly thick. So for those of you who do need some more computing power, who do need upgradable internals, and are okay with the 1366 by 768 matte display with viewing angles that mean you're going to have to tilt the display, to look at it. It's kind of like laptops in the sub $600 category in consumer world, that those tend to get better screens before they get any other improvement, honestly. But if you're going to be using this with an HDMI external monitor with a docking port, or you just do use this in office environments with the screen facing right at you, then it's actually adequate. It's not a bad machine in terms of the power that it offers and the expandability thanks to actual accessible internals, also the battery life, also the removable battery. You're going to be gone for a long time away from AC. Maybe you are in the wilds of Transylvania. Well, you can just bring along a spare battery. And for those of you who still like optical drives, and there are those of you out there for a variety of reasons that need those, one of the few 13.3-inch machines anymore that you're going to find that actually has a optical drive bay. So that's the Toshiba Portege R30. It is available now starting around $720 or so, going all the way up to our model here, which is $1,600. So for those of you who are looking for an ultra portable, kind of in the classic sense, not the, ooh, it's sexy, it's metal ultrabook, it's expensive, you can't upgrade anything, no optical drive. If you're looking for that kind of workhorse, has all that stuff in a full mobile CPU, this one's worth a look. Yeah, the display is just so-so. So it's better for those of you who use external monitors, but it does fight back with having a matte display. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.